In Greece, integration is a national competence, despite the fact that municipalities really play a more dynamic and active role in integration in daily life. On top of that, there is lack of a central integration plan involving all stakeholders, as well as lack of coordination mechanisms between the competent authorities. In 2015, thousands of refugees, for example, arrived in Athens, and within a short period of time, city squares, parks became the unofficial meeting point and temporary home of thousands of refugees. Back then, the city of Athens had very little infrastructure or experience in refugee reception and found itself in the forefront of a major refugee crisis, as we all know. As a result, the city of Athens had to develop a platform that would ensure proper coordination between municipal authorities and key non-profit service providers. Though is still evident. As integration policies continue to develop, there is need to map changing needs, avoid duplication of activities, better understand the impact of policies, identify best practices, and develop evidence-based proposals. Nowadays, we know it is clear that the more we strengthen coordination among the stakeholders, the better responses we can get for the beneficiaries.
The working committees of the ACCMR, as well the wider mechanism of the coordination initiative, gives the opportunity to its network of members for information exchange, so networking and collaboration between different stakeholders, including NGOs, donors, and private sector stakeholders. In that way, it supports civil society organizations to develop mutual understanding, productive dialogue, and synergies among them and with the city of Athens. Regarding integration in the labor market field, we could say that now it's a top priority of the ACCMR, as far as integration is in the labor market is on top of integration priorities at national level as well. So the Livelihoods and Economic Empowerment Working Committee is a very active committee and has organized several events aimed at informing and raising awareness among private sector organizations, donors, as well as the wider public on the issue of the access of migrants, refugees, and vulnerable groups in general to the labor market. More recently, the committee organized the ACCMR Digital Job Fair with the support of the IOM Greece, which drew the interest of 450 participants and 12 companies.
So the International Rescue Committee, the IRC, joined the ACCMR at its inception, let's say, back, I think it was 2017. The municipality of Athens was drafting its strategic action plan for the integration of migrants and refugees, a key objective of which was the establishment of a Refugee and Migrant Coordination Center, which would in essence be a focal point for the promotion of expertise and know-how among service providers and policymakers. Back in 2017, and I think it was exactly the summer where the first sub-working committees were meeting, we were just launching our first labor market integration programs in Athens. So it was very fitting then that we joined the Livelihoods and Economic Empowerment Working Committee as co-chair at the time. And back then also a lot of the committee members were not already implementing these kinds of programs, but were very interested in starting. So the first things we did back then, I remember, was drafting the terms of reference of the committee. So maybe 3 years later, most or the majority of almost all of the committee members have already established 2 years of programming in job counseling, business training, vocational education. And the committee has kind of taken a life of its own. So it's an invaluable resource for exchange of good practice and knowledge among peers. And it really has been an effective way to coordinate among service providers. So the two examples would be the creation of the Job Counselor Task Force and the organization of joint events, which aim to support sensitization, let's say, and the involvement of the private sector in the labor market integration of refugees and migrants. What is a Job Counselor Task Force? So a lot of the members in the committee are job counselors, right? And they represent their organizations. And they have also formed a direct line of communication through a common email group and occasional informal meetings, which only job counselors attend. The forum has effectively worked as a job placement task force also at some cases. So each organization may have a network of employers, and these employers share job openings with the job counselors, to which the organization can send CVs of interested beneficiaries. Often, an organization might not have in its pool of beneficiaries profiles that meet exact requirements of the job description. So the call is then forwarded directly to the other job counselors within that task force. So in that respect, it is a win-win situation for both the people that we serve, the employer, and the organization holding the relationship with the employer. The second, I think, example of good collaboration is the events that we organized, which culminated, as Marina said, to the digital job fair, which was supported by IOM and the Ministry of Migration and Asylum under the Helios integration project. But it has been the culmination of efforts that started back in 2018. And it's a good example of collaboration because invites were sent by everybody in the committee. Beneficiaries were invited by everyone in the committee. So it was a very much a joint collaborative process of implementing this event.
Two years after the establishment of the ACCMR, other Greek cities expressed the need for transfer of know-how and capacity building concerning similar coordination mechanisms and tools. In this context, the ACCMR platform gave rise in the establishment of the city's network for integration that now includes 18 cities.
So, given the fact that ACCMR is a low-budget program, for us it was really important to think big but act small. That means that to organize and support small-scale initiatives that can bring wider and long-term synergies and thus create added value. In addition, it was very important to involve diverse stakeholders in order to maximize the impact of our initiatives. A participatory approach from the development to the operation phase of the ACCMR platform was also important. Another thing is being proactive, carrying out regular outreach, and adapting content according to the needs. And finally, acknowledging the contribution of our members and partners through communication activities was really important for our project.
I think it is an excellent way to access service mapping, which is one of the biggest gaps organizations face in cities and other contexts. It's a good place to exchange information and good practice, and it provides room and a forum for collaboration and innovation and network building, which benefits not only the people that we serve, but organizations themselves and the people within the organizations.